Ew, what is all over my fucking hand? Oh, it's the oil from the chair. I'm gonna raise this a little bit here. Welcome to the channel, my name is Ty, and today you are watching this video because you're either 16 years old and just bought your first Mark II TT that's probably extremely clapped out and you're not gonna listen to any of the things I'm about to recommend or tell you, or B, you actually have a Mark II TT that you wanna modify so it makes sense and doesn't absolutely destroy your wallet for useless things to put on your beautiful Mark II TT. I'm just kidding. A lot of them do look really nice. It just depends what you have and what you're gonna do to it. So we could save a lot of time in this video and I could do the classic recommendation of get a fucking downpipe and install a stage 2 tune from any tune maker that you have locally to any part of the world that you're in, because that's the way you're gonna make the most amount of power without putting a bigger turbo on your TT. Or if you own a Mark II TT VR6, this video probably isn't gonna be for you, because the one thing I'm gonna recommend if you have a VR6 is save money and put a turbo on it and make it really fast. But yeah, my name is Ty. If you are new to the channel and you are not one of my returning subscribers, this is my 2013 Samoa Orange Mark II TTS with MagRide suspension and lots of modifications if you want to go see any of the mods that I've done to this car, because I have done a decent amount, I would say, for your average TTS owner. It is a 6-speed DSG. It is not a manual because we did not get a manual TT in North America. Or sorry, we did not get a manual TTS in North America. This is not a TTS line. This is the TTS, as in it has the EA113 CDL or CDMA, depending on what part of the world you're in, with a TTS model. And it is also very dirty, if you can tell and you have a high resolution monitor. You probably don't care that much. You're here to talk about or learn about mod recommendations. Now, as I said, if you wanna not watch this whole video, because I guarantee you if you're here for performance things, the thing I'm going to tell you that's the #1 performance mod is a downpipe and a tune, because if you're not new to the world of Volkswagens, you know that that is literally the #1 mod that you want to do to make a lot of power. On this car specifically, you will make an additional 80 horsepower. That's a lot. Now, for those of you that are just like, I'm gonna put an intake on my car and it's gonna be amazing. Well, guess what? The stock intake box on this car, along with pretty much any Volkswagen after about 2008, that includes Audis, have very well designed stock airboxes that do a pretty damn good job, and it's been proven time and time and time again, and I'm not gonna get into it, that putting a hot air intake open airbox on your car is gonna give you whooshy boosty noises, but it's not gonna give you anything that's gonna actually make a benefit. So don't do that. Don't put an intake on your car. So just looking at my TT, you can tell that it's pretty stock. It is lowered, but I also do have MagRide suspension. So we're gonna try and keep this as unilateral for all of the TT Quattro models for the Mark II as we physically can, and not try to make it exclusive to the TTS. My first mod recommendation for this platform is gonna go to a lot of other Volkswagens as well, being that this is a front wheel drive bias most of the time platform. For those of you that think this is 24/7 all-wheel drive, it is not, unfortunately, because Haldex Quattro, not mechanical. You're gonna wanna start doing some suspension mods. Like a lot of other either front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive Haldex Volkswagens, you're gonna wanna put a little bit of money into the suspension, because these cars are front-heavy. They understeer. Even when you have really good expensive tires and coilovers, it might not make that big of a difference. So, what you can do, and my car doesn't have one yet because I haven't bought one, so this is a little bit hypocritical, put a rear sway bar in it. I'm not joking. Put a rear sway bar in the car. Because a rear sway bar is gonna help you counteract a lot of the understeer, because you're gonna fix body roll and you're gonna keep your wheels planted, because your car is gonna go like this in the corners. And you really wanna fight that, so that the more contact you have on the ground, the better you're gonna be able to handle, and the less you're gonna understeer. Tying back into a point about 15 seconds ago, tires. Put good tires on your car. Your car will also handle better with good tires. You will stick better to the ground. Get wider tires. My car's lowered and I have, what are these, 255s? Hello? Where's the, no, 245, 55, 19s. These are my winters. They rub a little bit in the rear, but that's because I've lowered a lot and I have MagRide. So if you're gonna lower it, make sure that you're getting the right size and the right wheels. But make sure you get good tires, and that doesn't mean just go buy Indy Firehawk 500s, because you can get a set in 245 3519 for like $800 Canadian. They were good when they first came out. There are better options for a similar price, if not a little bit more. And one last thing before we get away from the suspension and wheel setup of your TT, another really good recommendation I'm gonna make that made a pretty decent difference for me when I first bought the car was getting rid of stock brake pads. And not so much the rotors really matter unless you're gonna get like floating two-piece rotors or some like fancy crap, and then you're just gonna glaze over this entire recommendation altogether. But we're talking in a stock format, get better brake pads, because the Mark II, even though it is a smaller vehicle than the Mark VI Golf R, even if you are in America and you do know people that have a two-door, or in the UK that have a two-door Mark VI Golf R, it uses the same brakes, and they're single piston 340 millimeter rotors. So your contact area for the amount of pressure that is applied to the brake pads already isn't that great, because it is a single piston compared to the Mark III TTS that got the quad piston up front. So get a better brake pad that's gonna be able to either A, have more bite force, or B, have better resistance to brake fade, something like a carbon ceramic pad. You can get them for fairly cheap now. I do have Brembo NA0 or NAO front ceramic pads on my car, and it definitely has made a big difference, especially when I'm out doing a little bit more of a spirited drive, kind of in the hills and on twisty roads and whatnot. You need to brake a little extra hard into a corner, if you know what I'm talking about. That will do it for suspension, tires, and drivetrain related stuff. So let's pop the hood of the TT and let's talk about some stuff in the engine bay. As I mentioned, I do have a TTS, so my engine will look different from those of you that have a regular 2-liter TT, either the early 2008 all the way up to 2013. I believe you guys still did get the BPY in the 2008, but this is the Golf R platform that came in the Mark VI. So I will take the engine cover off so you guys can see that this is the same. This is the CDM platform. So this has the bigger turbo from the factory than the regular BPY Mark V motor, and it's not as advanced as the EA 888 that comes in the 2009 plus A3 TT GTI and that kind of thing. So it is timing belt driven instead of timing chain. Now, before I make any mod recommendations, and a lot of you hot boys are gonna get really mad if you come from the Mark V background where maintenance doesn't matter and let's slam our cars and put shitty wheels on them. If you're looking at your engine and anything is leaking, fix that before we do anything in this video, number one, but especially anything in the engine. Now, as you can see, I do have R8 coil packs. My valve cover is different. I do have a fancy dancy integrated engineering carbon fiber intake, but there is one cheap, very, very easy mod that a lot of people do with Volkswagens, because for those of you that know anything about the lovely diverter valves that Volkswagen has released in the past, some of them have issues, but they are a pain in the ass to do because before they used to be attached to the turbocharger. On the Mark II TTS, it's amazing because look where it is. It do be right yonder, literally. My first engine recommendation for this car, regardless of if you have a tune at this point, well, number one would be a tune, ECU tune, engine tune, do that. If you want to do something cool for your car, I would recommend updating or upgrading to one of these bad boys right here. So this is where your factory diverter valve would be. I have installed the newest rendition of the Go Fast Bits DV+. So this is a direct swap unit. This isn't one of those ones where you put a new piston in it or anything. You literally take the old diverter valve out and you put the new one in. Literally will take you 5 minutes to do. They're about $200, I believe, and it makes a difference. I've made a video all about that. Go check it out. It actually also makes some cool boosty turbo flutter noises sometimes. But we're not gonna get into that. Go watch the video if you wanna check that out. Another thing that I would recommend, and we're gonna pretend that the upgraded intake doesn't exist, because if I wanna be completely honest, the difference that you're gonna see compared to having the stock intake, especially if you own a TTS model, is negligible. Very small, it's cool, it makes boosty noises, but for how much this intake costs and the other options that are out there for just the regular Mark II,
and the TTS, I wouldn't even waste your time doing an intake unless you have an upgraded turbo. Next, and this has to do with if you've done the remap at this point, like I said in the very beginning, downpipe in stage 2 is gonna be the best way to make the most amount of power. If you wanna make more than that, and you do have the EA113 either in a very early TT Mark II or you have the TTS, is do the high pressure fuel pump piston upgrade. Very simple, lots of videos on that. I've also done a video on it. You can go check it out. And I will also have links to everything I'm talking about in the video, even the stuff I'm not gonna recommend. It will be down in the description if you wanna pick anything up. But other than that, general maintenance is a huge one. This isn't gonna be a mod recommendation on the last one I'm gonna talk about in the engine bay. However, it is a very important one. For those of you that know anything about direct injected motors, the EA113 didn't get away from it, the EA888 didn't. These have carbon buildup. It is just the way that direct injection works. It's no fault of Volkswagen specifically. BMWs have this issue, Kias have this issue, Hyundais have this issue. Anything that doesn't have fuel spray over the intake valves inside the engine, you're gonna have carbon buildup, you're gonna lose horsepower. It's not a mod, but if you can save some money to get the service done or do it yourself, go do it. I also have a video for that. But yeah, so that's all as far as the engine. If we're talking about remapping and whatnot, I wouldn't waste your time going stage 1. You're not gonna see as much of a gain as you are when you go stage 2. It's literally like $100 difference across the board for all of the different manufacturers to go from stage 1 to stage 2. However, you do need to buy a downpipe. If we want to talk about exhaust modification, you don't need a full exhaust if you're going to go stage 2. My car is a stage 2.5 or 2 plus car, and I have a catless downpipe hooked up to the stock catback on my TTS, and I will put a clip of what that sounds like here. And honestly, the way that these cars come, either in the 2-liter non-S model, they sound good. They sound good. You're not gonna gain a shitload of power by putting a full flowing super loud exhaust on it, so I wouldn't waste your time with that. But that's pretty much it for engine stuff. Cosmetics. I've done 2 cosmetic things to this car so far. Number 1, and this is gonna be the most beneficial for you if you live in a climate where it gets hot in the summer or is super sunny. Get your windows tinted. The biggest reason I say this, so when you get in a car in the middle of the summer and you have fishbowl windows, non-ceramic, and you're not able to reflect some of that heat off the car, it's gonna be super hot on the inside, and then it also looks good. I have 5% in the back, 35% in the front, so it doesn't look super illegal during the day, but at night it is still dark. And then from the front, it's very clear. It looks awesome. Actually, I lied. I do have 3 cosmetic mods. Here's the second one. Sequential mirror signals. Whoa. Fancy. That one is a pain in the ass to do, as much as some people will say that it's very easy. That mod probably took me about 3 or 4 hours to do because there are screws on the inside of the mirror. Like, you have to do some weird finagling with it that were super rusted, and I had to battle with very, very hard to get them out. And then the final mod recommendation for cosmetics, and this can be done on any TT as well, like the mirror signals, but fog light upgrades. We got white and we got yellow. I recommend that because as much as the HID headlights are very bright, they aren't the best because of how low these headlights are in the car. And they're not just very bright to begin with. So doing kind of like the LEDs and having the cool functionality of a switchback gives it a little bit more personality. And also, if you really want the functionality of more light, you can use them in white LED mode. So that will do it for the things that I recommend doing to your Mark II TT, TTS, or whatever. If you do own a TTRS, I do apologize as I'm not very versed in that car. I don't really know too much about it or the 5-cylinder compared to the Dazzler that's available in the newer ones. All I know is that if you pretty much do anything in a TTRS to make it faster, Mark II TTRS, you need to upgrade the clutch. And I know that's expensive. So if you own a Mark II TTRS, you probably have enough money to do a lot of stuff to it. So kudos. But anyways, like I said, if you want to make a lot of power
in your Mark II TT. Stage 2, downpipe, catless if you can, depending on your emission stuff. Get good suspension, good tires, and then modify it cosmetically however you would like to your personality. Don't tell anybody that they think your car's ugly unless you're gonna put anime stickers all over your Audi, then I hate you and goodbye. But thank you so much for watching today's video, ladies and gentlemen. If you are new to the channel, do not forget to subscribe. I will be doing some more on the TT very soon, and like I've said many, many times in my most recent videos, I am looking at another rig, and we are very, very close to getting that deal finalized, and I hope that that will be what the next video is on the channel. But anyways, guys, peace out. I will see you in the next video.